So, I've read Carrie again, so you know what that means? I gotta talk about it. Welcome back to BG's Books. I'm Mr. BG, and I got my Carrie shirt on, so you know what that means? I gotta talk about my favorite book of all time, Carrie. And so this isn't a review of the book. I actually did that all the way back in 2023, so go check that out if you haven't. And I would consider doing a remake of the review if you guys want to do it, but I'm proud of the first one that I did, so I kind of want to leave that alone unless you guys really want to see a new review of it with my current style, which I'd be okay with doing. But anyway, so this video is basically going to be kind of like an Easter eggs video. Yes, that's right. I'm doing my very first Everything You Missed in Stephen King's Carrie video. And so basically what spurred this on is that I was reading Carrie, as I normally do, and I found some stuff that I either completely forgot that happened or I missed entirely during my first 6 reads. Yes, I've read Carrie 7 times by now.
Addict.
So, of course, since I'm the Carrie expert around here, I'm basically a Carrie expert. I know everything about Carrie almost. It's time I kind of share some Easter eggs. So yeah, this video was originally going to be stuff that I missed in Carrie, but as I said, I either forgot some stuff or just kind of didn't even realize some stuff. But there's kind of too little of that to make a list here, so I'm just going to kind of do it for anyone who either has forgotten or hasn't even read Carrie in the first place. So, of course, there will be spoilers, so anyone who has not read Carrie in a long time or has not read Carrie at all, you have been warned. But anyway, let's get right into the stuff you missed. I'm going to kind of break down most of the ones that I remember. As I said, there are so many, so I may not remember all of them, but I'm going to try my best to remember most of them, if that makes any sense. So first of all, we're going to start with the ages of the characters. So Carrie, in the shower scene, is described as 16 years old. Okay, fairly simple, right? That makes a lot of sense. She was born in 1963, and this takes place in 1979. The book does. Which, also, there you go, the book takes place in 1979 instead of the movie, which was 76, or when the book came out, which was 74. So any of you might find that interesting. So there you go. There's the first interesting fact. The date is different. But anyway, back to the ages. Carrie is described as 16 in the infamous shower scene. But later on, when Sue was talking about Carrie in her little book that she wrote called My Name is Susan Snell, she mentions that she was 17, Carrie was 17, Chris Hargensen was 17, Tommy Ross was 18, and Billy Nolan was 19. And so while Tommy Ross and Billy Nolan were 18 and 19 respectively, that doesn't change. Something changes about Carrie's and Sue's ages. So as I said, Carrie was previously established as being 16 in the shower scene, but yet when Sue talked about it, she was 17. And then Sue described herself as 17 in that book that she wrote, but yet when Stephen King talks about her later, she is considered Sweet Miss 16. So is she 16 or 17? Who knows? But anyway, so now we hear that Carrie is both 16 and 17. Neither one is correct, by the way. So Carrie's birthday is September 21st, 1963. Okay, that's Stephen King's birthday. Not his birth year, but his birthday. Anyway, and then by the time she dies, at the end of the book, it is May 28th, 1979. So I went through an age calculator a while ago, and I found out that she's actually neither of those ages, and she's actually 15 years old. So that is the first continuity error. And then also with age, remember how I said she was born in September? Well, back when Carrie was 3, she caused stones to fall after she saw her neighbor topless, and her mother got mad at her about that. Well, that incident was described as Carrie being 3 when that happened, but yet that was about July, August, I believe it wasn't September. So she would have actually been 2 years old. So, yeah, there you go. Very, very interesting and stuff. That's kind of it about the ages. But anyway, the other continuity error I want to address is just kind of the weird timeline. It's that Margaret White married her husband, Ralph, in March of 1962. And then around like December or something, Carrie was conceived. You know, that's how stuff works. But here's the interesting thing. So early on in the book, it mentions that Ralph was killed after I guess like a construction beam fell on him as he was walking. What a way to go. But anyway, so he died in February of 1963 before Carrie was even born. But yet, when Margaret White reminisces on when she tried to kill Carrie as a 2-year-old, she almost went in there to stab Carrie to death, but Ralph jumped in and stopped her from killing Carrie. Ralph already has been dead, so where did he come from? Was it like a ghost or something? So that's just kind of the many examples of the inconsistent timeline in this. It's like Carrie is 3 when she does the stones, but it was before her 3rd birthday. And yet Ralph saved her when she was 2, but he died months before she was even born to begin with. So, yeah, I'm very confused. You probably are as well. But anyway, that's enough with the continuity stuff. Again, I don't think I remembered all of them, but I tried to remember as much as I could. But anyway, yeah, let's move on to the next section. So, in case you guys have only watched the movies or have read the book but know the movies more, you would remember that Margaret White tells Carrie that her telekinesis may be from the fact that Carrie was conceived out of sin when one day Ralph came home drunk and forced himself onto Margaret. And so that's kind of the main explanation that Margaret White gives. So she believes that Carrie's telekinesis was a form of punishment for having Carrie out of sin, which, I mean, is very interesting. That's certainly a thing, but if you read the book, there's actually a 3-page long segment about the origins of telekinesis, or the TK gene. Basically, the telekinesis gene, or TK, is a recessive trait that has to be brought on by both parents. Even if they don't have it themselves, they have to carry it, especially the father, because the father's the carrier, but the mother has to have some signs of it. And if the offspring is male, it will result in hemophilia, which is like, I think, like a blood disease. But if the offspring is a girl, the girl gets telekinesis. So basically, the guys are getting the short end of the stick in this one. Basically, so yeah, the movies make it seem like Carrie's telekinesis is like some supernatural force that has no explanation other than sinful stuff. But the book actually goes very in-depth and scientific on how the telekinesis happens. It's like, think of the gene for red hair. Both parents have to carry the gene even if they don't have red hair themselves. So that way there might be a chance that the offspring will have red hair when both parents have it. So yeah, it's like the same with red hair, but with telekinesis. And that also brings up the irony, because remember, Margaret White is kind of chastising Carrie for having telekinesis. She thinks that having telekinesis is from Satan or whatever, because Carrie has it. But yet, ironically, Margaret White is the reason why Carrie has telekinesis. Isn't that ironic? Yeah, it turns out that her grandmother may or may not have had like telekinesis or something. And then I guess Margaret just never knew about it. So she carried the gene, and yet she thinks that Carrie has it because she was like sinful or whatever. I know, that's ironic. Very, very ironic. I don't really have a category for these. But anyway, first of all, in the movies, of course, Carrie's biggest feat of telekinesis, at least when she first knows she has it, is by blowing out a light on the ceiling. And while that does happen, she actually knocks over a broom first. Very minor, but I just thought that would be interesting because a lot of people associate it with the light, but it was actually a broom first. So interesting. Anyway, another thing I want to mention is that people also have telekinesis outside of Carrie. So there's a lot of segments throughout the prom night part where we get like interviews of people who like experienced the thing firsthand or lost someone who was in there and whatever. And we have the perspectives of Tom Quillen, Vic Mooney, and Cora Simmerd. And they all say that when they found Carrie going around, keep in mind they've never seen her or met her, they all knew it was Carrie right away because of something that they just felt. It's never explained what, but you can obviously probably assume that they also have some sort of telekinesis, which is just incredible. And as Carrie gets weaker, the proximity shrinks and goes down. So that's why only Sue can detect her. Yes, Sue also has some form of telekinesis or telepathy, because in the final parts of the book, as Carrie is laying in the field dying, or sorry, not a field, a parking lot, as Carrie is laying on the ground dying, Sue lets Carrie look into her thoughts and sees some of Carrie's thoughts as well. So Sue is very much telekinetic, and the movies never explain that. And also, I think maybe Sue was pregnant. I mean, the 2013 movie kind of confirmed that, but the book hints at it because she missed her period at one point, and then right after Carrie dies, she starts to have it again. So she may or may not have been pregnant. It could have been the telekinesis as well that was messing with that. But either way, Sue has telekinesis as well as other people, including this one girl at the very end of the book named Annie Jinx, who lives not in Maine, but somewhere else. She's showing early signs of telekinesis at about 2 years old. So the popular fan theory is that Carrie got reincarnated into Annie Jinx, and I don't think that's true, but it's certainly worth mentioning because the book treats it like Carrie's telekinesis is kind of a 1 in a billion thing. No one else has it. Carrie just kind of randomly had it for whatever reason, but it's actually... It actually afflicts more people than you think. And if you read the book, there are people that like can read Carrie's thoughts, because Tom Quillen, he says he could read Carrie's thoughts and know what she's thinking. And then Cora Simmerd, it's like they all knew that it was Carrie without ever having even met Carrie. So that's very interesting. So I mentioned that telekinesis is a recessive gene that both parents have to carry in order for the slight chance that a female offspring may have the ability. But when Carrie actually uses her telekinesis, her body does like a lot of weird stuff. So there is a scene towards the beginning of the book where Carrie, has already discovered that she has telekinesis, and she's practicing it, like lifting her bed, moving a hairbrush, stuff like that. And basically it's described that her internal body temperature goes up to like 94.3, which I don't think is the normal. Her blood pressure goes up 140 over 190, which I couldn't tell you anything about. And then like her heart beats very much faster. Her head starts to hurt after so long. Little stuff, it's okay, but big stuff, it starts to hurt her. And so, yeah, I imagine after hearing all that of what physically happens to Carrie when she uses her telekinesis, that it isn't hard to imagine how she would die from all that stuff. Anyway, so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention that because that's very interesting because, as I said, the movies never go into, like, the telekinesis as the science or whatever. It just kind of explores that it's a power and that's it. It doesn't explore the physical effects. It doesn't explore the origin of it at all. But yeah, so I just thought that was worth mentioning. The prom scene goes quite a bit differently than what you would expect from the movies. Keep in mind, this isn't a book versus the movies type of thing, even though it kind of seems like it is. This is just things that you may not have realized happened to Carrie. So basically, the prom scene kind of goes as normal and stuff, but instead of outright winning the King and Queen ballot, it's actually a tie between Frank and Jessica and Tommy and Carrie. So they have a second voting round where Tommy and Carrie win by 1 vote. So instead of like having filled out an entire ballot to just like cheat or whatever, Carrie and Tommy win by just 1 vote. And so that's also interesting. And And so, you know the movie, how they're standing on stage and then the blood bucket comes down? Well, Carrie and Tommy are actually sitting on their thrones when the blood comes. So Carrie's just sitting down, and then she looks like she's been dipped in a bucket of red paint, because that's what Norma Watson says. Speaking of which, some of the bullies actually survived the book, like Norma Watson and Tina Blake. They survive. Kind of lame, I'm aware. But anyway, so yeah, after the blood stuff happens, Carrie is just kind of confused and stuff. And then here's where some real differences happen. Instead of everybody laughing all at once, it goes from 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a dozen. This is 10, but a dozen. And then everyone. So it's a slow escalation of people laughing. And then Carrie is like embarrassed, so she like hops off the stage telekinetically to give herself a little bit of a jump. And then as she's running, someone sticks out his foot and then has her sprawling on the floor, which is just very incredibly mean. And so then Carrie runs outside, kind of has a little Grinch moment, you know, like, I'm going to kill people with telekinesis. So actually, what she does is that she's outside of the gym. She locks all the doors, and then she just activates the sprinklers so that everyone can get their like good suits and dresses wet. She doesn't plan to kill them initially, but you know, her mind just kind of snaps at this point. Basically, it all started as like just a little payback with some water, but then, you know, fires happen, explosions happen, and then things escalate from there. And then, of course, almost the entire town gets destroyed. And now, so the prom was definitely a lot different than it was in the movies, but I think it was very interesting nonetheless. So the ending is quite a bit different. So, in the movies, Carrie actually kills Chris and Billy first, and then goes home to confront her dear mother. But actually, after she destroys some stuff, she goes to the church to pray a little bit, and then goes home, stops her mother's heart with telekinesis, and then, because she's so weakened by now, she's just, like, crawling over to the Cavalier where Chris and Billy happen to be. And so she basically, you know, takes control of their car, rams them into the building catches on fire, and then she's on the street. Because if you remember the movie, she kills Chris and Billy, then goes and kills her mother, and then she goes down with their house after the stones come down. Well, that doesn't happen. Instead, what happens is that, she goes to the Cavalier, kills Chris and Billy, and then Sue helps her die with the assistance of telekinesis. And then her death is described as a thin light of candle slowly being dragged down a dark tunnel. Kind of depressing, I know. Anyway, so long story short, Carrie does not end up getting buried in the ground when her house goes under. She dies like a regular person, very painfully, mind you. Also, she got stabbed in the shoulder instead of the back like the movies do. Yeah, she was out to get stabbed in the back, and then she, like, saw the knife at the last moment, moved, and then it, like, planted itself in her shoulder, which was very painful. So anyway, she dies in pain and suffering and whatever, like coronary thrombosis, occlusion, hemorrhage, shock, whatever, you know, all that stuff. And then later on, the house ends up getting destroyed by falling boulders that fall in the house. So there you go. Carrie does not go down with her house, but instead she goes down with, or she doesn't go down with anything. She just kind of dies, and that's that. Anyway, long story short, 440 people are dead, and the town is just kind of forever sad and depressed. And Miss Desjardins, you know, the gym teacher, she doesn't die. She survives but retires from teaching. And then Henry Grail, the main principal of Thomas Ewan Consolidated High School, he retires as well. That also reminds me that the school is Thomas Ewan Consolidated High School instead of Bates High School like the movie suggests. But anyway, guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about some stuff that you may have missed in Carrie. Again, this is just kind of random and all over the place. I wish I would have planned this out better, but you know me, I just cannot plan anything to save my life. But I hope that this video at least made some sense to you guys. I hope I didn't completely lose you with, like, with like the placement of stuff and all that. But I just thought that after I read Carrie for the 7th time, I just thought, you know what, it would be fun to kind of explain some of the things that happen in the book that people may not remember or have never even experienced because they love the movies so much. So yeah, please let me know if you would love me to do this for any more of the books, like any more books. Like I may do one for Dune, I may do one for like Misery or something, I don't know. But yeah, I just thought that was a little fun video because I love to like find things that are interesting in books and stuff. And so Carrie, of course, I know that book basically like the back of my hand. So it was very easy to find all this stuff. So yeah, again, I'm sorry if the layout was a little confusing. I did not plan it, but I hope you guys found it interesting nonetheless. And I hope you understood what I was saying. But anyway, anyway, that is the end of the video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let me know if you found anything interesting in this video, or if you found anything interesting in the book that you would want to share with me. I would also like that. So please let me know if you found anything interesting in this video, or share something with me. You guys get the drill by now. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've been Mr. BG. This has been BG's Books, and I will see you guys in the next video.